and we'll send the recording and slides in a follow-up email. Closed captioning is available. To turn captions on, click the CC button in the bottom taskbar. At the end of the presentation, there will be time for questions and answers. To ask a question, please use the Q&A tab. With that, I'll pass it off to Clarissa Hayes, Deputy Director, School and Out-of-School Programs at FRAC.
Great, thanks, Steve. And hi, everyone. Welcome to today's webinar on summer meals, planning, and partnerships. We are so glad that you could take time out of your busy day to join us today. And like Steve mentioned, my name is Clarissa Hayes, and I work on the summer and after-school programs at FRAC, and I will be facilitating today's webinar on behalf of FRAC. So this webinar is part of a series on the summer meals basics that we are holding as we get closer to summer 2023. And if you would like to access any of those previous recordings or register for future events, you can do so on our website, frac.org. So the goal of today's webinar is to dive into how you will bring all those summer meal pieces together. So once you know how you're going to participate in the summer nutrition programs, whether as a sponsor, a site, or a convener, it's important to take some time to think through some of the goals of your programs, what additional logistics need to be addressed, and then what partners you can tap to work with. So I'm so excited for our three guest speakers who are going to join us today to share their insight and their expertise on the topic. And we hope you leave with some new ideas for your program and some new partners to connect with. So we're going to go ahead and dive right in. I've already introduced myself, but I work at FRAC on the summer and after school meal programs. And joining us today, we have Krista Hesdorfer, who is the Government Relations Manager with Hunger Solutions New York. Next, we'll hear from Robin Ronkus, the Public Health Nutritionist with the San Bernardino County Department of Public Health with the Nutrition and Wellness Services. And then last but not least, we'll hear from Jessica Frazier Emerson, who is the Be Mighty Coordinator with the Central Arkansas Library System. So before I turn it over to our speakers, I did want to just touch on a few resources that we have available from FRAC to support your summer meals implementation. So as always, we do an annual report on participation in the summer nutrition programs, and it's called Hunger Doesn't Take a Vacation. And we look at participation on both the state and the national level. And the reason I wanted to share this is that this can be a really good starting point if you are new to summer meals to focus some of your efforts once you're able to see how your state is doing in reaching children with summer meals. And then we just updated our summer mapper. So if you are in an area and you're curious whether a site could be eligible, you can go ahead to our website and input that address, and you can see if you're eligible to serve summer meals at that location. And then two resources that are more specific to today's topic. We have a planning guide that breaks up the months leading up to summer and details what you should be thinking about. So for March and April, our guide does focus on establishing logistics. So again, a lot of the things that we're going to focus on today as far as partnerships, finding sites, and all those other pieces that you need to be thinking about in the next 2 months. And then the last piece here is outreach to increase participation in the summer nutrition programs, which our next webinar is going to focus on coming up with a marketing and outreach plan. But I wanted to flag this resource because it tackles that, but then also talks about recruiting sites and other things to think about when you're thinking about outreach broadly. So just wanted to bring attention to some of those resources. And then as always, we have plenty more summer tools on our website at frac.org. All right. So that is enough for me. We're going to go ahead and dive right in. I'm going to turn it over to one of my favorite colleagues from Hunger Solutions New York, Krista, to start us out.
Thank you so much, Clarissa, and thank you for having me today, and thank you everybody for joining and for your work on summer meals. As Clarissa mentioned, my name is Krista Hesdorfer, and I'm here from Hunger Solutions New York. We are a statewide anti-hunger organization, and our work focuses on maximizing the federal nutrition assistance programs. So we work on SNAP, WIC, school meals, the child and adult care food program, and of course, the summer meals program. And we do this work through a combination of statewide outreach, partnership building, technical assistance to help schools and organizations and individuals connect with the programs, and advocacy to strengthen and expand the reach of all of the programs. If you can go to the next slide. Today, I'm going to share a few highlights from our summer meals planning and outreach strategies from sort of a statewide perspective. And I'm going to focus in particular on partnerships, both for site recruitment and outreach. So I'll share a little bit about how we partner with existing systems and networks, sponsors and state agencies, and also how we integrate our summer meals work across other programs that have overlapping audiences. Then the next slide, share a little bit about working with existing networks and membership organizations. And I will acknowledge this is not a new or groundbreaking approach to summer meals work. It's something that FRAC does to spectacular success at the national level, and something that I know a lot of folks are doing in other states as well. But I'd be remiss not to mention it here, especially if folks are newer to this work, because it's been critical to maximizing our reach. I certainly don't have capacity to reach every single school district, community-based organization, potential new site across the state of New York, but I can reach all of those folks by tapping into their existing membership organizations and networks. It's also a great way to make sure that information and opportunities to engage in summer meals, that information is coming from trusted messengers that folks are already working with and regularly receiving updates about resources and best practices in their field from. So just a few examples, but there's many more. We love working with our state school nutrition association to reach food service directors. We also partner closely with a variety of groups of school administrators, superintendents, principals, school board officials, business officials, PTAs when it comes time to outreach to families. All of those folks are involved in the decision-making on how they engage with summer meals and whether and how they can expand their presence in the community. So we work with all of those folks. On the community-based organization side, we work very closely with our state's Alliance of YMCAs, our state after-school network, which also serves summer program providers. We have a great partnership with the state university system, which is an interesting one, both for outreach, and then we're starting to work with them on some site recruitment as well. And we do a lot of work with our state library association and our state's summer reading programs, which I'll talk a little bit more about on the next slide. So I wanted to just pick one of those organizations that we partner with, or an audience, I should say, and just elaborate a little bit more about what I mean when I say that we partner with them. So this is just one example, but many of the activities that we do with our library association and with our summer reading program mirror the way that we work with all of these other partners and networks across the state. So in this example, in our work with the Library Association, we've been able to co-host webinars and workshops that are really tailored to libraries, that have librarians as speakers, sharing about their experience with the program and how they made it work. We've tailored some outreach resources for site recruitment so that libraries can see the benefits of pairing summer meals and summer reading and how that's played out in other libraries across the state. We share data with our partner organizations so that they can look at their particular network and see, what does current participation look like among New York's libraries? Where are there some gaps that maybe we could, tap into for growth? And also year to year, how can we build on the partnership that we've formed? We've worked together to survey librarians in their network to gauge their interest in the program, what they need to get involved, and any best practices that they can share with us. I find that doing surveys through partners like that gets us a much better return, and it's a great way to guide that partnership going forward. Existing networks are also perfect for facilitating peer-to-peer discussions, whether that's a virtual roundtable or perhaps they bring their folks together annually for a conference or a monthly call. Those are also great opportunities to have some peer-to-peer discussions about summer meals. And finally on here, we've been able to get some content about summer meals and other anti-hunger programs onto the websites of these membership organizations that we partner with. And then, if they have a resource tab, for example, for their members, our information about summer meals is right on there. It makes it very easy for folks to learn more and get involved. We also, of course, work very closely with the sponsors that are running the program across the state and with our state agency. I mean, these are some of the best partners that we can have. We're all working toward a common goal of expanding the reach of the program. I wanted to share a few specific ways that we do that. So when we're working with sponsors, I cannot speak highly enough of sponsor collaboratives. So I feel very fortunate that in our state, there are a few regional groups that have come together, maybe 10, 15 sponsors in an area, in a city or a county, to focus in on summer meals in their community. They'll do needs assessments for their area, figure out where there are those gaps in services and what are some solutions that will work for their community. They'll also do outreach together so that they're all, sending a consistent message. They're all, promoting all of the sites that are available in the area, and that outreach can reflect a message that's going to resonate in their community. These groups are fabulous for all kinds of planning and partnership building. As a statewide organization, I really appreciate being at the table because, I can share some policy updates and resources with them, but then I also get to take back all of their best practices and, bring them to other folks across the state who can hopefully replicate them even further. I also do highly recommend if you're statewide or regional, to survey sponsors in your area, whatever that area may be. We have done either a survey in the springtime to gather folks' plans, their resource needs for the summer ahead, or a survey in the fall to sort of debrief, see how things went, and gather best practices that we can then share throughout the winter in preparation for the next summer. Again, roundtables, peer-to-peer opportunities to share best practices are really key. So we've brought New York sponsors together virtually or in person to have those discussions about what are the challenges that they're running into that maybe somebody else was able to work through in a way that could be replicable. And then I have one maybe oddly specific suggestion here on engaging sponsors. And it's that the USDA Capacity Builder map is incredible for identifying gaps in site availability, potential new locations, partners that could be engaged. But it's not always the most intuitive to use for folks who haven't used it before. So I find that not only with sponsors, but more broadly, if I'm working with anybody on planning and prep for summer meals, especially site recruitment, if I can walk through how to use this USDA Capacity Builder and show an example, I can see the light bulbs going on, and then folks take it and run with it and use it in their communities. So a great resource, a reminder that it's there, and that sometimes it does take a little hand-holding just to get folks used to it so that they can make good use of it. Our work with our state agency is delightful. I love working with our state agency. I highly encourage you to partner in any way that you can with yours. We meet with them regularly, but definitely for a debrief conversation in the fall to see how things went, and then for some planning in the springtime, winter, to figure out how we can work together on recruitment and outreach. Some examples of what we've done together: we've got co-branded outreach materials that we've produced with the state agency. And we've also identified some cross-program and even cross-agency outreach that the state education department, in our case, can do. So for example, they will bring materials for summer meals with them when they're doing site reviews for the school lunch program. Or, in a cross-agency example, they've provided information to our state's Office of Children and Family Services so that that office can send out a memo to their entire network about the availability of summer meals. So a lot of really great partnership to be had there with the folks that are administering the program and running it at the local level as well. I also wanted to just give a reminder for those of you who may be working across multiple programs or have partners who are working across multiple programs, that as much cross-pollination as you can do there, the better. It's wonderful for families. They're getting all of the information that they need. And it's a really great way to just maximize your reach, make sure that people are hearing about summer meals in multiple ways and formats as they're going about their lives. So we work, as I mentioned, across multiple nutrition programs. And so I have a couple of examples here where we've incorporated summer meals messaging into our SNAP outreach. We have SNAP assisters who work across the state. And so they'll do an outreach campaign focused on summer meals and SNAP as nutrition resources for families. And then on the right side of the slide, I can't take any credit for this. This is a local WIC office that decided to put summer meals flyers into their WIC Farmers Market Nutrition Program check distribution, which is brilliant. And I had to get a photo from them so that I could tell everybody about it. This is the kind of cross-program promotion that I think just makes perfect sense in every way. On the next slide, I just have a few more tips that didn't fit nicely in my 3 themes that I outlined at the beginning. One thing to think about is just making it as easy as possible for a variety of different partners to get involved in your summer meals work. So one thing that we do is create a really easy to use county by county sponsored directory. So if there's a potential new site that wants to get started, they can very easily look up who covers their area and get in touch. It's the correct contact information. It's just easy for them to do. We also, work on easy to flip outreach resources like social media posts, flyers, graphics, newsletter content, anything that folks can just copy and paste. It doesn't take a lot of their capacity. And then also, providing them with some very specific ideas of how they can use those resources to reach their audience. And then just as it's sort of an overarching theme, to just meet partners where they are. We often find that, if we're working with a potential new site, they might not be ready to run a summer meals program a few months from now. Maybe that's not in the cards for them this summer, but they can still help with outreach, and that's really meaningful. It also sort of opens the door for further partnership in, the next summer after that. And then I also just have here, I love FRAC's summer meals report so much that we decided to create a state level version that does a county by county data analysis. We haven't done it in a few years just because of the pandemic doing interesting things to our data, but I'm hoping to pick it back up. And I wanted to share with you all that county level participation data, whether you're able to put it in a report or just share it with partners in conversation, that really catalyzed a lot of additional engagement for us from a variety of different partners who found it really eye-opening to see that in their county, they were only reaching 1 in 8 kids or 1 in 10 kids with summer meals. So if you're able to do that kind of data analysis, it's a really important piece too for building those partnerships and planning for the summer ahead. So that is what I have to share with you today, but please don't be a stranger. Reach out if you're interested in talking about any of this further. You're welcome to send me an email. I'm happy to answer any questions today, of course. And you can also visit our Summer Meals website, summermealsny.org, where you can find a lot of our resources that I talked about today. I'm going to hand it back. Thank you.
Thank you, Krista, so much. That was great information. I love the idea of the cross-program collaboration and also your point around just having that county-specific information. And I know you mentioned having convenings and bringing sponsors together. And we've seen that work really well in the county level, because I think so many states have, something that might work in one area, but maybe won't work in the other. So really digging into those and highlighting some of those unique challenges and successes can be really key to this work as well. But yeah, I would just recommend everyone go check out their website. And if anything looks like it would work for you, steal it. And I'm sure Krista would not mind if you do that. Awesome. Alrighty. Well, we are going to go ahead and move on to our next speaker. We have Robin joining us from the Blizzard in San Bernardino County. So I'll go ahead and turn it over to her.
Okay, thank you, Clarissa, and great presentation. Also, okay, my name is Robin Ronkus. I am a public health nutritionist with San Bernardino County Department of Public Health. I work with nutrition and wellness services. In San Bernardino County, I wanted to give you a little bit of background about it. Next slide. We are located in the southern part of California, and it's geographically the largest county in the contiguous United States, which covers over 20,000 square miles. We border Nevada and Arizona, and we are actually larger than 9 states. We have about 37 cities and towns, and we are divided into like 3 distinct regions: mountain, desert, valley. And our county is quite large in terms of population, about 2.1 million residents, of which 39% are SNAP Ed eligible. And we have a large Hispanic community, about 61%. Next slide, please. In San Bernardino County, we have children living in poverty, about 21%. And we do know that poverty is also known to be one of the key drivers of food insecurity. So 1 in 5 children experience hunger or are food insecure in our county, and according to Feeding America data. And also 67% of our students in the county schools are eligible for free or reduced price meals. Next slide. Now, my role with the county is the County Nutrition Action Partnership Coordinator. We call it CNAP for short. We work with agencies to collaborate and foster partnerships to increase access to healthy foods and improve food security in our low-income population. So as a CNAP, we selected summer meals as one of our priorities, especially when in 2013, we saw that only 4% of those eligible to receive free and reduced meals actually participated in our summer meals program. And at that time, we formed a summer meals work group to support our schools and school district sponsors. Next slide. So now planning for summer, this summer, 2023, actually began last year in summer 2022. What we did is we partnered, one of our great partners has been our colleges and universities. We partnered with Loma Linda University School of Public Health, and we elicited the assistance of a graduate student to help us conduct a survey to evaluate our summer meals program in our county, including to identify food insecurity, barriers and challenges, promotion efforts, satisfaction with food, and recommendations to improve our summer meal sites. So in a convenient sample, we collected about 442 surveys. We visited 14 different sites within 7 cities, and we interviewed 8 summer meal program sponsors. Our data was collected and analyzed, and we created a dashboard along with the final report. 80% of our surveys were collected in English and 20% were in Spanish. And in terms of our summer meals sponsor staff questionnaires, they were conducted as an interview or sent via email or Qualtrics. Next slide, please. So as a result from the data, some of our findings in regards to food insecurity, the survey questions contain 2 validated questions to screen for food insecurity. One of the questions was, within the past 12 months, we worried whether our food would run out before we got money to buy more. And then the second one was, within the past 12 months, the food we bought just didn't last and we didn't have money to buy more. And these 2 questions are validated and recommended by the American Academy of Pediatrics. So if they responded often true or sometimes true on either of those questions, they were considered food insecure for the purpose of this study. And so from our results, we found that over half the respondents reported as food insecure, about close to 55%, and bearing in mind that each household may have had more than one child. Next slide, please. And looking at barriers, one of the main reasons why people didn't participate in the summer meals program was due to not being aware of the program. And the next reason was labeled as other, in which people wrote a response. And most people shared that they did not participate because of high gas prices at that time, or that they were new to the area. And, you know, because our summer 2020 and summer 2021 were very different, we saw that that in 2022, many were unaware of the program, new individuals that participated in households that participated. Next slide. And also a question in regards to promotion strategies. How did they hear about it? For most of them, they received information through the school or community flyers, and that was reported, and they also received information from summer meal flyers or posters or banners that were next to the summer meal site. The next popular strategies were through the internet or social media and through the mail. Okay, next slide. And then moving on to the questionnaire results, we were also able to collect 10 questionnaires from our summer meal sponsors. And on slide, next slide, please. So looking at the results, we found out that 5 out of 8 of our sponsors, or 63%, they reported a decrease in participation in 2022 in comparison to 2021 at their summer meal sites. And that 7 out of 10 were satisfied or very satisfied in regard to the success of their summer meal program in 2022. And this was the first year going back to summer meals, how it was usually run, and having to figure out how to transition back into in-person again. So some of the challenges that they saw was the lower participation, understaffing. It was difficult to get staff to work this summer. Some families were not familiar with the rules and regulations for the normal summer meal. And so some of the improvements that they sought were to have more promotion this year, earlier promotion also, clarifying rules and regulations with the families, having more enrichment activities, and working with the partners. Next slide. Now in working our summer meal program, I'm very fortunate to have co-chairs of our summer meal work group, and they are from our school district, like Redlands Unified School District and Adelanto Elementary School District, and then also with our local nonprofit, No Kid Hungry, local representatives from No Kid Hungry. So over the years, this collaborative has held meetings with school district, food service, child nutrition directors, and staff to address ways to increase summer meals, promote summer meal programs, add enrichment, fun activities, and initiate kickoff events. And through the years, this collaborative has been extremely successful, as evidenced by some of the different awards that they've received. Next slide, please. So this year, what we have done is scheduled 3 virtual summer meal check-in meetings in cooperation with another county. We call ourselves the Inland Empire, Riverside and San Bernardino together. And we have meetings in January, March, and May. And this is more of a meeting rather than just an informational webinar, because we have interaction between our summer meal sponsors. They're able to take themselves off of mute and talk amongst each other and share what they're doing. Next slide, please. Some of the topics that we are covering this year will be staffing, and these will be discussion points among our sponsors, menus, summer meal celebrations, kickoffs, spike events, and back to school events. We'll be talking about partnerships, enrichment activities at summer meal sites. We have updates from our California Department of Education summer food service program, and we highlight some of our summer meal sponsors and community partners. Next slide. So last year and also this year, I am planning to line up presenters. And last year we had about 10 at one of our meetings to present and give their elevator speech about their organization. And they presented on how they were able to support our summer meal sponsors. Next slide, please. For example, 211, our information call-in center. We gave them a minute and a half to talk about what they can do to support our summer meal sponsors, also talking about promotion and enrichment activities and what they're able to do at summer meal sites. And I had 10 of our partners actually do this. Next slide. And this is an example of our WIC program, and they also participated in summer meals, not only by promoting it with their WIC clients, but also going out to summer meal kickoff events and at summer meal sites, providing information to families. Next slide. In addition, we had our San Bernardino County Superintendent of Schools, which is our Office of Education, also take part in both promotion, and they also set up a local kind of mapping of summer meal sites in our areas as well. So families could go on and see which ones were opening and the dates and times. And because many of our locations change hours and times, they had probably the most up-to-date information in regards to some of the sites in our area. Next slide, please. Of course, we elicit the help of our master gardeners and making sure that they participate in our summer meal programming. They have such fun things for kids to do, and information on gardening. And here we have paper making, seeds in a glove. They're always a big hit with the kids. Next slide. Even our local medical center was able to get involved, and they conducted some physical activity with our Shape of Yoga. They do nutrition education, and they promote their summer the summer meal sites in social media, email blasts, local radio stations. So they were able to do that. And then our oral health program. Next slide. They also helped in many different ways, and they're also a big hit. Even our dental offices in our local area come out. There's a tooth fairy. She dresses up in a tutu and comes out and interacts with the kids and gives away free toothbrushes. And also our county local oral health program come along with us. And then also, don't forget, next slide. Hopefully your Department of Public Health is working alongside in your area. But we go out to many different sites. Last year, we attended 18 different events at 15 sites in 8 of our cities. We attended 3 kickoff events and a spike event during the summertime. Next slide, please. And even during COVID, we didn't let up. We did everything outside. We did the yoga demonstrations as cars drove by, and we always work with our school districts in very innovative ways. We even during COVID did a drive-in book reading where the cars lined up and we had a loudspeaker and we read books, and we had a character come out, our otter character, and waving to the kids. And so it was a very fun event, something that we do with the kids. Next slide, please. And then also this year, one of the things that we are planning to do is doing story time, and we'll do story time in the parks while summer meals are going on, or in the library setting. And then also we worked with the California Library Association, and they provided us with a story walk. And this is where the kids can read a whole book or a story, and they go from sign to sign reading a page or 2 of the book, and they're getting exercise, and they're reading, and they're reading about physical activity. Okay, next slide. Another thing that we were able to provide is radio promotion to the California Department of Public Health. We provided a radio promotion through our Lime Street Park in Hesperia Unified School District. And they donated bicycles and gift cards and things. So this is pictured one of the activities that we had at our summer meal kickoff event in Hesperia that was planned by the school district. Okay, and then just as some ideas where you can form partnerships, these are, just kind of a handful of different partners that you might want to consider connecting with in your local area. We have some very innovative school districts. They even contacted their a place that sold tires, and the business brought a bunch of tires, and the kids did like these exercises by rolling the tire and jumping through the tires. And so, you can be very innovative in regards to who you connect with and who you get involved into your summer meal program as a partner. Next slide, please. Okay, and definitely recognize excellence in and among your sponsors and partners. We always promote the USDA Turn Up the Beat Award for meal quality, and just make sure that your sponsors know about this and how they can apply and be recognized. We also, through our California Department of Education, have a Farm to Summer week, and we try to promote Farm to Summer, where the sponsors provide nutrition education, taste testing, and some media promotion. And so sponsors don't have to do this all by themselves. They can get the partners to help them with all of those things and then be recognized through the California Department of Education. And also this year, our local No Kid Hungry representatives are sponsoring some awards in the Inland Empire. There's 3 of them that are lined up here. One is Reaching New Heights, How is your summer program grown? So we'll recognize a program that has grown this year. Also, ones that have provided summer events and enrichment activities, fun in the sun, and some that have marvelous menus. And so I think that's a great way to encourage your partners and recognize them for a job well done. The next slide, please. So if you have any questions, please feel free to connect with me. My phone number and my email address are here, and I'll also put those in the chat box. So thank you very much, and I'll hand it back to Clarissa.
Amazing. Thank you, Robin. You're getting a lot of kudos in the chat. I think just the variety of partners that you work with is really inspiring. And yeah, I think this idea around making the site experience the best it can be is really amazing, because for some kids, you know, the summer meal site may be their summer camp or the thing that they go to do during the summer months. So I think that that's a really important part of that, is to bring these partners together to make it fun. And your point about recognizing the hard work that everyone does really resonated too. So thank you so much for that.
Thank you.
We're going to go ahead and turn it over to Jessica. And before I do that, I do want to flag, because I see some questions coming through, that we are going to make sure that all of the resources and the recording and the slides will be shared after today's webinar. So don't worry about that. And I'll go ahead and turn it over to our last speaker to share what's happening in Little Rock, Arkansas.
Hi, everyone. My name is Jessica. I'm the coordinator for Be Mighty Little Rock. I recently became coordinator in November of 2022. So I've gotten a great in-depth knowledge on our programming, and I'm really excited to share our summer meal service plans with you and a bit about what makes our program unique. Next slide. So Be Mighty Little Rock is a anti-hunger campaign based out of the Central Arkansas Library System. Our partnership with the library and being based out of the library, I believe, is what makes our program unique. 11 of our 14 library branches are meal sites, and recently 10 of our 14 branches have little free pantries that we stock weekly with canned, shelf-stable goods. Recently, we also have a community fridge program. So we just installed our first community fridge at one of our library branches, and we're working to install more in the future. I think one of the big tenets of our program, and something that's really important to us, is our program is successful in an area where government-supported programs are not as heavily funded. And so the library is already recognized as a resource in our community and are dispersed throughout the city. And so it helps us have a wider outreach. And we can go to the next slide. So some of our programs and services, of course, our meal distribution. We do after school and summer meals. We connect patrons to resources in addition to food pantries. We have food security screenings and referrals. And we try to be in constant communication with our patrons about adjustments to our meal program, things they'd like to see, whether it be through meal service, through nutrition ed programming. We also have a nutrition education component to our programming. We partner with the Arkansas Hunger Relief Alliance to do Cooking Matters courses and some intergenerational nutrition ed courses, as well as child and youth focused. And one of our major programs is our Be Mighty Metro program, which reduces barriers of mobility through providing month bus passes to adults and their children. So one of our tenets is also our barriers to access. So availability of our meal sites. We serve meals Monday through Friday and Saturday meals at a good portion of our meal sites. We also have our transportation elements, financial insecurity by our SNAP program. We have SNAP navigators at all of our library sites, and we try and do 2 trainings a year for our library staff to get them trained on SNAP and WIC and T navigation. So if patrons who are really utilizing, say, the community fridge or little free pantries or a meal program, they can receive assistance through SNAP navigation if that's something that they're interested in. We are also partner with the Arkansas Hunger Relief Alliance in this, using their SNAP hotline and their SNAP navigation team. And we can go to the next slide. In addition to the impact of COVID-19 on food insecurity, I would also like to kind of talk about some general Arkansas hunger statistics, because I think that is relevant in the ways that we address hunger in our state. Arkansas ranks the 4th highest in the nation in child food insecurity, and 24% of Arkansas children live in poverty. This is 2019 data, and so that has changed a little bit with the impact of COVID-19. 22.5% of households in Arkansas are food insecure, and 1 in 3 Arkansas children are facing food insecurity. And our library system has tried to combat a lot of what we saw from COVID-19 through our response. We also heavily lean into our partnerships. Those partnerships include the Central Arkansas Library System, which we're based out of. We store a lot of our shelf-stable goods here for Little Free Pantries, and our library branches operate as our meal sites. The City of Little Rock also aids us in our metro programming, as well as the National Parks and Recreation Association and Little Rock Parks and Rec. Our community centers here in Little Rock also operate as meal sites, and we track their meal distribution data, as well as Rock Region Metro, which is our citywide transportation. We partner with them to receive bus passes every month and day passes to give out to the community at our library branches. The Little Rock School District is also a huge resource for us. We attend a lot of outreach events with Little Rock schools, including signing up for Metro remotely at outreach fairs and health fairs at elementary and middle schools in the area. Being able to sign patrons up for Metro at these sites is a new addition to our program. We just started doing that this year. And it's something that we're really excited about, because access to transportation does increase access to food and participation in our meal sites. Right. So our response to COVID-19, I was not employed for Be Mighty at this time, but I've had a lot of in-depth conversations about programming during that time. Expansion of meal service. So as other organizations and brick and mortar places were closing in Little Rock in response to COVID, the library and its resources remained available. Although access to library buildings was not feasible, we had access to federal grab and go waivers and served meals outside of our library branches. And partner organizations that might have had funding for meal service but couldn't operate due to their sites being closed helped allocate those funds and meals to Be Mighty's meal service, allowing us to be able to feed more children and families. Our partnership with the Little Rock School District, since schools were closed and summer meal opportunities were not available through schools, we had a close communication with LRSD about our meal sites, where they would be at times that we would be doing programming, resulting in a higher attendance and making sure that our outreach was successful. Another aspect to our COVID-19 programming was the library opened on Saturdays in order to allow students to not have a gap over the weekend for meal access from Friday to Monday. And on Saturdays, patrons were allowed to grab 2 meal bags as a part of our programming. So, state agencies and federal legislation. Whenever starting a meal site program, referring to your state agency, which we've heard in several other presentations, is extensively important. Start working with an agency as soon as the application becomes available. And your state agencies can aid in acquiring vendors and community support. Federal legislation, we found, is also a really good access point for making sure you have a successful meal site. If we had not advocated for grab and go waivers during COVID, we would have probably had to halt meal service due to being unable to do congregate meal service. And grab and go waivers have really increased our participation at meal sites, especially at branches neighboring schools. Right after school, students being able to go to the library and grab a meal and then get on their bus is also us meeting the barrier of transportation. Some aspects of congregate meal service tend to present challenges for attendance if students are not able to grab their meal and get on the bus. For programs that exist, collecting stories, And it's not just having testimonials to talk about the aspects of your program, but being in communication with your patrons and the children and the families that you're serving helps increase participation by listening to their concerns. Some of those being extension of mealtime. If your meal service is from 3:30 to 4:30, sometimes families that can't get out to the library until 5, that'll make it a little bit harder to receive food. And so just being in conversation with the people you're directly serving to meet those barriers is a recommendation that we have in order to increase your participation and your outreach and serve a larger part of your community. And state and federal agency stipulations, paying close attention to those, no matter how great your programming might be and how streamlined your service is. If we're not following our stipulations and our requests from our state and federal agencies, that can potentially halt meal service. And some final notes. Additionally, on partners and partnerships, we found that in order to stay in touch with we have a very small staff. Currently, I have 3 on staff. In order to make sure that we're maintaining our relationships with our partner organizations that we're working with, having our Be Mighty task force that we've created in order that has members of DHS, the City of Little Rock, Arkansas Hunger Relief Alliance, and other organizations that we work closely with, has allowed us to keep everyone in the loop with what our programming is doing, with where we might need some aid, and be able to just have a very clear line of communication. We've also recently started a Be Mighty Youth Task Force, which has been really fun. You get to work directly with the youth. Some of the youth in our task force also participate and rely on the meal service. And so getting to hear their feedback on meal qualities, menu changes, being in conversation with the kids that we're working directly with has been really fruitful for us as a program. And additionally, the library staff. The library staff are not Be Mighty employees specifically. They do a lot in their library outside of their work with Be Mighty, but being in communication with the people on the ground who are serving meals for us and talking to the patrons and have a direct relationship has really aided in making sure that our outreach is successful. And we can go to the next slide. I have some contact information here. We've recently also done some radio programming with KABF, which is a local radio station here. It's a nonprofit, where we've advertised our meal sites, kind of been in conversation with the city about hunger and ways to combat it. And if you have any questions about library programs and nutrition in library programs, please feel free to reach out.
Wonderful. Thank you, Jessica. That was amazing information. And I love what you said about surveying or talking to participants at the summer meal site, and your point about, maybe the timing doesn't work and shifting it back a half hour could make it more successful. And I think just getting that feedback and surveying participants and having that conversation is a really key opportunity over the next couple of months. So thank you so much for sharing that, and for all the partners. I always am very jealous that you all are able to do the free bus passes, and I wish every community could do that, because I know that you all saw just a jump in participation after that was able to happen. So but yeah, those are all of our speakers. So I just wanted to quickly thank Krista and Robin and Jessica for sharing such amazing information. I know I took a lot of notes about new partners and things to do when we're thinking about summer meals and getting closer to summer 2023, which I know feels like it's a long ways away, but it will be here before we know it. So I did want to just leave some room for questions. So if you do have any questions for any of our speakers, feel free to add those to the Q&A box on your screen. I know all of our speakers have shared their information, and I see them adding that to the chat. So they welcome questions after, or if you have want to brainstorm with them, I'm sure they would welcome that opportunity, as would FRAC. So I'll give everyone a minute or two if there are any other additional questions. And then in the meantime, if you could go to the next slide, I will just quickly touch on some of our upcoming webinars that we have. So we do have our last Summer Meals Basic webinar on March 9th. So that's on developing an outreach and marketing plan. And then in addition to that, FRAC continues our work on the other federal nutrition programs. So we have a webinar next week on pandemic EBT and what that will mean for summer EBT, which is recently been expanded nationwide, which is very exciting. And we see this going really hand in hand with summer food. And then on March 16th, we'll be talking about the kickoff of CEP season. And then on April 27th, we'll be talking a little bit more about implementing CEP in states that require alternative household income forms. So our summer meal series will be wrapping up on the 9th, but again, know that the conversation will only just continue. So we're here as a resource. I know all of our speakers are as well. So I will pause there, and I see a lot of kudos for our speakers and thanks for the information. And I will just echo that for all of our speakers. I think everyone did an amazing job and was very thorough. So we may not have any questions today. So I will actually just go ahead then and thank our speakers again and thank all of you who are able to join us today. We always love hosting these and hearing these great ideas, and we hope you leave with some new ones for your community. So we'll go ahead and wrap up. I hope everyone has a great rest of your day, and we hope you can join us on March 9th for our next Summer Meals webinar. Thank you. Bye.